Hi, I'm Nikki, I'm a sexual health nurse.
And I'm Alana, and I'm a relationships and sexual health educator. In this video, we're going to answer your top questions about STIs, or sexually transmitted infections.
Off we go.
Are there any ways to be intimate that don't put me at risk of an STI?
Yes, there are. So STIs can be passed on through skin-to-skin contact, through bodily fluid exchange and blood-to-blood contact. So if you can do anything that avoids that.
For example, some of those activities could include masturbation or mutual masturbation. They could also include rubbing genitals or dry humping with your clothes on. It could include some massaging or some cuddling and snuggling. So they're just some ideas that you could try.
Yep. Cool, and none of those will put you at any risk of an STI.
But it is still important that when you do engage in vaginal, oral or anal sex, that you do practice safer sex behaviours.
Yep.
Is thrush an STI?
Well, it's not, no. So thrush is not an STI, however, it is a sex-associated condition. So thrush is caused by a yeast, which lives in our mouths, in our guts, and in our vaginas. But there's also good bacteria in the vagina, which keeps everything happy and under control. So if something happens and that good bacteria goes, then sometimes what can happen is that thrush can multiply. And if it multiplies and becomes a problem, it can develop into like a thick white itchy discharge, which can be uncomfortable, can cause some soreness. It can certainly make sex uncomfortable. Now, if somebody's got symptoms like that in their vagina and somebody has unprotected sex with them with a penis, then it is possible for the person with a penis to get some thrush symptoms. And that would look a bit like a red shiny rash on the tip of the penis. And again, it could be a little bit uncomfortable. So it's sex associated, but it's not actually an STI.
Right.
And the way to avoid it generally is to avoid using soaps or shower gels when washing in the genital area, and that's for all genitals. So ideally you would just use warm water, you wouldn't use soaps, you wouldn't use shower gels, and you would keep the genitals as cool and as dry as you can. So avoid, lots of tights and lycra and, clothes that make you sweat. So all those people out there doing Keep Fit, just make sure you get home, have a rinse off, and keep everything as cool as you can. So the other thing with thrush is that because people know about thrush, people can think that everything's thrush when in fact it could be an STI. So the general advice is if there's anything changing, if any discharges change, or if there's anything itchy, go and see a sexual health clinic or go and see your GP, because it may actually not be thrush. So not all the itches is thrush.
Not all the itches is thrush. All right.
So I went down on my partner. Could I have an STI?
Yes, you can have an STI. So you can contract an STI from oral sex. So to protect yourself from STIs during oral sex, it's a good idea to use condoms or dams. And if you want some more information about that, you can check out Shine SA's fact sheets. We've got lots of information on different types of protection and contraception, and how to protect yourself against STIs.
So some of the infections you can get through oral sex, you can get herpes. So herpes obviously you can get as a cold sore, and you can actually transfer that as genital herpes and vice versa. You can also get gonorrhea in the throat, and you can also transmit syphilis from the throat. So
yes, you can get STIs from oral sex. And it is always worth practicing safer sex behaviours. I just found out I have an STI and I'm in a committed relationship. How did this happen?
Yeah, now this is a common one here in the clinic. We get people who, have got new partners, and then they come in for an STI check after they've already had unprotected sex and find that they've got an STI. And it doesn't always mean that it's that partner who's got the STI. In fact, half the time you don't know where the STIs come from. Ideally, in an ideal world, two people who are going to have sex together would have an STI check before they started having unprotected sex, but that doesn't often happen. So if you do find that you've got an STI, it doesn't mean that that partner's been unfaithful necessarily. It might mean that one of you came into the relationship with an STI already that you didn't know, because we know that some STIs don't always have clear symptoms. So like I say, the best thing to do in an ideal world is before you both start having unprotected sex, go and have an STI check together and get the results together, and when you both know you're both negative, away you go.
And I guess it's an opportunity as well to say that getting an STI test is actually quite easy.
Yep.
They are generally really easy to diagnose.
Yep.
They're easy to treat.
Yep.
And as we mentioned, really easy to prevent. So if you are going to engage in any sexual activity, making sure that you're using condoms and dams to protect the areas that they're covering is a great place to start.
So having regular STI checks is also a good thing. Mm-hmm. So in summary, having regular STI checks is a really good idea. Ideally, having an STI check before you have unprotected sex with anybody is the best idea. But if not, just having regular STI checks and safer sex is the best thing you can do to keep yourself protected against contracting any STIs.